Okay. Good evening to all. We're up to Daf Samech Vav Amid Beis. We're in the sugya of Korban Pesach. It's like a Shabbos. The Shechita is like a Shabbos. And what about Tumah? Now, there's a concept, fellas, of Tumah, either Chutra B'tziba or Chutra B'tziba. Chutra means it's completely mutra, or mutter. And Chutra would mean that it's pushed off. It's pushed off. We're going to see a halacha that the Korban Pesach is, in fact, Doicha Shabbos. That the Shechita of that is not only Doicha Shabbos, it's Doicha Tumah. The Shechita of the Korban Pesach one is Doicha Tumah. You bring it B'tumah. And an unbelievable halacha. By every other carbon, if you that is hutra b'tzibor, you don't eat the carbon, you just bring the carbon. By the carbon Pesach, not only you bring it, you eat it. Again, that goes back with the soy. The soy of the carbon Pesach, guys, is the achila. The whole purpose of it is the achila. So you wouldn't even eat it. So today's daf is really a tumah dika daf. No, it's not tumah dika daf. It's a daf that's about tumah, and we're here to go ahead and figure out exactly where we learn from what. So where did we learn Shabbos from? We said Oila Shabbat b'Shabbatoi Allah's Hatamid, right? So we said that you bring in the carbon Musaf, you bring that on Shabbos, and aside from that, you brought the carbon Tamid. So you see, you bring the carbon Tamid, and then you had the relationship because there's a custom Oilasoi because there is Shava. It says Oilasa by carbon Tamid. It says Oilasa by carbon Pesach, and we'll go ahead and say and equate the two together. We'll equate the two together. So we're on Samich Vav Amid Beis, where a few lines up from the bottom, the first wide line. Ashchen Tamidu Pesach the Docha Shabbos. We find the Tamid and Pesach Docha Shabbos, as we just said. Right? The Docha Tuma Minalan. How do you know that they're both Docha B'Tuma? How do you know they're both Docha B'Tuma? So now, guys, we learned in Shabbos, we learned Pesach from Tamid. We learned Pesach from Tamid. Tamid was Oila Shabbat Tamid, and it said Oila. By Tumah, we're going to learn out Tamid from Pesach. By Tumah, we're going to learn the opposite. We're going to learn Tamid from Pesach. Just like you learn out carbon Pesach from the carbon Tamid concerning Shabbos, that it's brought on Shabbos. The opposite. Yolef Tamid be Pesach linyan Tumah. We're going to learn that Tamid from Pesach linyan Tumah. Just like Pesach is brought Tumah, so too the Tamid is brought Tumah. Fred Gemara, the obvious question. Pesach, Alan. Pesach Kufa Minala. How do you know the Pesach is in fact Toicha Tuma? Amri Kehech says the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan Damakra. Ish Kiyeh Tamei Lenefesh. Ish when he's Tamei Lenefesh, and we say Ish. That means what? He goes to Pesach Sheni, guys. Ish Nidchel Pesach Sheni. An individual is Toicha Pesach Sheni. The ain't Sibur Nidachel the Pesach Sheni. But the tzibur will not be pushed off the Pesach Sheni. Now, there's two types of tumah. There is all the kahanim atame, or roiv of the tzibur. All the kahanim atame, or roiv of the tzibur. So now, we're saying that it says the pasuk by Pesach Sheni describes an individual who's pushed off the Pesach Sheni, but if it's not an individual, it's Klal Yisrael, or the majority of Klal Yisrael, that will not go to Pesach Sheni, that will go Yud Daled Nisan. That will be Pesach Rishon. Again, I don't know what they're busy with because I have a problem with the whole thing. Again, there was a Shaila brought up years ago about bringing that. But again, let's knock it off. Where's the Makam Mizbeach? You need a place in the Mizbeach. You can't just spritz it anywhere. No one knows where Makam Mizbeach is, so I don't know exactly. But again, that's neither here nor there. Ela Avdei B'Tumah. No, it's Yankel is just saying Tumah is not a problem because we're all Tumah is mace. So regarding going up to the Harabayis to go ahead and bring it, Yankel said it's not a problem. In Achinami, it's not a problem. But you have a problem with this Rico. Where's the Makam Mizbeach? Okay, anyway, let's look at Pachas. Ela Avdei B'Tumah. So what do you do? The tzibur doesn't go to Pesach Sheni, but we bring it to Tumah. Amalei Rav Shimon ben Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan. You're bringing it out from Pesach Sheni. Ema, why I could just as easily say the following diuk: Ish nidcha Pesach Sheni, tzibur leslu takanta loy Pesach Rishon v'loy Pesach Sheni. Here's your assumption: it's a kula. When it says ish, right? Ish goes to Pesach Sheni. Tzibur will be mekel. They go Pesach Rishon. I could just as easily say that tzibur is a chumrah. The kula is that the individual can go to Pesach Sheni. The tzibur, not at all. If Roy would tzibur Klal Yisrael's tummy, then not at all. Let the people not tell me. So therefore, says Reish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan, your diak, it can handle him. I can tell you, your diak is not Eiskalten, right? You say that Ish brings Pesach Sheni, but the Tziba goes to Pesach Rishon. I could just as easily say Ish goes to Pesach Sheni, and the Tziba is Pater and Hansen. Therefore, I'm going to have a different source. I, Reish Lakish, will have a different source, guys. I'm going to have a different source. Okay, let's go ahead and recognize three types of Tumah. Let's recognize Tamei Meis. Let's recognize Mitzayra, and let's recognize a Zav. Okay, Tamei Meis is obvious, someone who's Tamei Adei Meis. Mitzayra is obvious, it's someone who has been a kohen as paskin that is a Mitzayra, and a Zav is somebody who has a flow from his body. That again, if he sees twice, he's a Zav. One time he's a Balkari. 3 times it's a certain Zav. It's different than Keri. The Gemara needed says the difference in viscosity and color. Okay, so if it's twice, he's a Zav. 3 times the body, he has to bring a carbon. Okay, and he has to wait 7. He's one of Mechusik Yippurim, so it's Tumu Yut Yetzim Gufay. So now, with that in mind, says the Gemara. Elo Amar Shimon Lakish, I'll tell you a different source that Pesach is brought b'toma. Mehacha. It says v'yishalchu min hamachne. You should send out of the machne kol tzarua, any mitzayra, the chol zav, the chol tamei lenefesh. We're going to get into this on the Amid Aleph, exactly the halachas of shiluach min hamachne. We'll see this now. The Gemara's Reish Lakish's problem is, why do you have to tell me all of them? Tell me the most severe and work your way down, or the most cooler and work your way down. Yoimar Tamei Mesim, say Tamei Mesim. Well, Yoimar Zavim Mitzayra. Now, Tamei Mes, believe it or not, in some aspect, is more cooler than Zavim Mitzayra. By the Yoimar, in Tamei Mesim Mishtachim, Zavim Mitzayra Lekol Shekin. Guys, the Yisrael that comes up a lot, and you should realize it. When we speak about Mechusik Kippurim, all Mechusik Kippurim have something in common. Who's Mechusik Kippurim? A Zav, a Zava, a Mitzayra, a Yoledes. All their tumah is internal. It comes from their body. Tamei Meis is external. You receive it from the outside. Tamei Meis is external. You're receiving it from the outside. So this is the chumash. So tell me what? Tell me Tamei Meis is sent out of the machna, and I'll tell you if that's the coolest sent out of the machna, the more chomer one Zav Mitzayra certainly is sent out of the machna. Good. So Ella, what do you have to say? Well, what are you telling me? You're telling me a yisoid. Ella yesh l'chasha. There's a time shezavin u'mitzarayim mishtalachin, that zavin and mitzarayim will be sent out of the machne. The ain't tamei mesim mishtalachin, but the tamei mes will not be sent out. So that's why you had to tell me all 3. In other words, just to tell me the din of shiluach, you don't have to. You just had to tell me tamei mes. I know the other 2, but a chiddush over here is there'll be a time where the other 2 are sent out and tamei mes is not sent out. Right? It's a Pesach haba b'tumah. That's a Pesach that is ba b'tumah. Pesach that's ba b'tumah. Tamei mes is doicha. Tamei mes is doicha. Guys, I told you this. Remember, you were hacking maybe a Pesach Sheni. I said, don't hack so much till you. Remember, I got a little in your case. Like, you were asking questions. Remember that time, right? They never remember the Torah. They remember when the Rebbe stuffs them out. They all remember that. No matter how old they are, they remember that. Tamei Meis, the only tumah that's doicha is Tamei Meis. In other words, if Rav of the Tziva was Zavim with Tzarayim, they go to Pesach Sheni. They would not be doicha. The only tumah that's doicha is Pesach. The Pesach is Tamei Meis. If Rav of the Tziva is Tamei Meis, they'll bring Pesach Rishon. And that's what it's teaching me over here by saying all things over here. There's a time when the Zavim with Tzarayim will be sent out, and the Tamei Meis will not be sent out. And therefore, you have to tell me all 3 of them. And what was that time? The time is Pesach Rishon. What do you hear? What do you hear? What's our aim? That Pesach is Teicha Tumah. That was the whole thing. So Rabbi Yochanan learned it out from Pesach Sheni. Ish goes to Pesach Sheni, but the Tzibur goes to Pesach Rishon. Reish Lakish is just the kasha. What was his kasha? Maybe it doesn't go at all. Maybe the Tzibur is gone completely. And Reish Lakish, he learns it out from Shiluach min hamachna, V'zav mitzayra tamei mes. Just say tamei mes. I know the other 2. Ella, what's he telling me? Is the time when tamei mes sticks around, and the other 2 are sent out. When is that? Pesach time. So now we have a limud. Since I've established that Pesach is the din of Tumah is hutra b'tzibur, so Menela Tamid also will be hutra because I'll learn out I'll learn out the Gezerah Shabbat. We're holding good.
Rabbi, so only when the once you're being the doicha the tumah of mace, you're not doicha all tumah.
Tumah is hutra b'tziba only by mace. That's what a pasuk is telling me right now.
So even
that's what the pasuk. That goof was the pasuk telling me.
Okay.
Okay. Now again, that's the idea you should know. So now says the Gemara, Amar Abaya, says Abaya, Ihachi. If so, now meaning if so what? Right? If you're going to tell me that the limud from that pasuk is one stays in and two goes, guys, I can make a limud for two staying and one going, meaning the two more makel could stay and the third one's out. Ihachi, if you're telling me the pasuk is to teach me halacha and who stays around for Pesach Rishon, good. Lema, let's say the following: Lema nami yomer zav v'tamei mesim. Say zav v'tamei mesim yal yomer mitzayra, and don't say mitzayra. Why? Because mitzayra is more chama than the other two, as we'll see. And I'll say the following: zav mishtalech, right? Mitzayra like kol shekain. If a zav is sent out, it's only a mitzayra. And therefore, don't say mitzayra at all. Good, guys. If you're telling me the limud, why you said all three is to tell me one stays and two goes out. If this is the limud, I can list two things: list zav and mace, and leave out mitzayra. And I would know that that if a zav is sent out of the machna and a mace is sent out of the machna, certainly mitzayra, which is chama, then both of them is sent out of the machna. Now, what therefore would it be? Why would you be telling me this, Ella? What must be telling me this? The same limud. Yesh l'chasha. There's a time. Shemitzurayim mishtalchim, that the mitzayra is sent out. The ein zavim v'tamei mesim mishtalachim. The ezeh pesach ba b'tumah. So, guys, in other words, why did you tell me? Look at my hands on Zoom. Or you could, if you're not on Zoom, you could look at my hands. We have three, right? Three. We have three, right? We have three. Zav, mitzayra, mace. Good. What was the kasha? Tell me mace, and I still know the other two. What's the limud? The reason you tell me mace is mace stays around, the other two go out. Good. If that's your limud, tell me mace and zav. Don't tell me mitzayra. And I would say mace and zav stay, Pesach Rishon, and mitzayra goes out. Correct? That would be that. If that's your limud, then logically it follows like that. You know the problem with that is, because we have a mitzayra, we know for sure that only mace and not what, and not zav. So it says the Gemara, the chitem, if you're going to say that limud works out. The chitem, if you're going to say that limud works out, you got a big problem, right? Says the Gemara, hachanami v'tanan, we have a Mishnah, Pesach haba b'tumah, lo yochlim menu, zavim v'zavais nidais v'yoldais. All these people who have tumah coming from their body, they can't eat the Karim Pesach. Them achlum, they eat it, paturin their pata from karis. But what do you see? That a zav doesn't eat the Karim Pesach, so there can't be a limud that he should stay around. So therefore, what have we done? We've destroyed Reish Lakish's din. So guys, let's look. We had two limudim. Look at me. We had Pesach Sheni, right? We had Pesach Sheni, and Rabbi Yochanan made a diak. What was Rabbi Yochanan's diak? Ish goes to Pesach Sheni, but the tzibah stays by Pesach Rishon. Reish Lakish had a problem with that. What was Reish Lakish's problem with that? I can go just the other way. And Ish goes to Pesach Sheni, and the tzibah is pater and gansin. They can't bring it at all. But now, so he went to Bishalchim Namachne. Why was it necessary to say Zav Mitzayra? Say Mace, and I know all the other ones. And let's teach me a limud. Mace hangs around, the other two doesn't. Said the Gemara, if you're counting numbers, let's do the following. Say Zav and Mace, and I would know they hang around, Mitzayra and not. And that would be a logical thing if your limud is correct. But in fact, halacha is not correct. The Zav came from the Karim Pesach. So we're stuck. What's the source for what? For Pesach B'tumah. What's the source of Pesach B'tumah? Ella, let's go back to Ella Amabaya Loila Mikro Kama. We're going to learn from Pesach Sheni, guys. In other words, Abaya is going to prove, guys, that the limit of Tzibur is not a chumrah that you don't go ahead and do it at all. It's a kula if you go to Pesach Rishon. Guys, what was the kasha? Ish, the individual goes to Pesach Sheni. The Tzibur stays by Pesach Rishon, correct? That's a kula of the Tzibur. Freg Reb Shlakish, when we say a chumrah, that Ish goes to Pesach Sheni and the Tzibur doesn't go at all. We're going to prove that that Tzibur goes to Pesach Rishon. That's what we're going to prove. So the proof is going to be on Rabbi Yochanan. Ella, Amar Abaya, La'olam Mikra Kama. Imkain pirish. If you want to be machmir, and say that the tzibur doesn't get it at all, Nichtay Rachmana, the Torah should have written, Ish Kiyeh Tameh. Stop. Right there, you would have known. If a person's Tameh, when it says Tameh, guys, it would include all three, correct? Guys, it would include all three, yes? Lenefesh, Lomali. Then why does it explicitly take out of the rule of Tameh, Mace? In other words, if you wanted to say all Tumah goes to Pesach Sheni, just say what? Tameh. Why are you taking nefesh? Nefesh means tamei mace. Why are you taking that out, Lamali? This is what it comes to teach me. Tamei mace who did nitchel Pesach Sheni. Only tamei mace goes to Pesach Sheni. Avol shar tmeim loy, meaning Zavim Mitzayra would be pata completely. Right? Right. In other words, the reason why read the pasuk like this: Ish kiyeh tamei lenefesh. If a man is tamei tumas meis, and then he goes to Pesach Sheni, but a Zavim Mitzayra would not. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Ivatanya Yachal, I might think Lo Yehei Oisim Pesach Sheni Ela Tamei Mesim, and I would think the only people who go Pesach Sheni are Tamei Mesim, or a person who is distance away. We'll see that a lot soon. Zavim Mitzrayim Ubali Nidas Minayin. How do you know Zavin Umitzayr and the people who was Balanida? How do you know they go to Pesach Sheni? Tamalayma ish, right? Ish, double lashon ish, all ish. So guys, if you want, let's go through the limit outside. Watch. Ish, right? Ish, ki yitame. Ish, that what was the lashon of the pasuk? Ish, ki yitame lenefesh, right? So we asked the kasha. Why are you saying lenefesh? If it's to teach me a din of only mace, it's not true. It's not true because it's not only mace that goes to Pesach Sheni. Zav Mitzori Yoledes, they also go to Pesach Sheni, right? So the word and how do I know? How do I know they go to Pesach Sheni? Because it says ish. What's the double lashon ish? Any ish that's tamei, goes to Pesach Sheni, right? What's the word the nefesh come to teach me? Tamei mace is come to teach me the following: the nefesh lamali, lama the kasrach lamali. What are we in nefesh? Elahachi kamar. Here's what the Torah is teaching me: ish nitchel Pesach Sheni, right? Only a ish is nitchel Pesach Sheni. The ain tzibur nitchel Pesach Sheni. Ela avdei betuma, right? V'chi avdei tzibur betuma. When do they do it? That's betumei mace. Avol shar tuma le'avdi. So the word nefesh is to describe. You know exactly when this halacha applies. It applies only when it's tamei tumas mace. Oh, so here's our limit. Let's go through it. Outside, here's our limit. Guys, what's our aim? Our aim is to figure out how do you know Pesach is brought betuma. We tried Pesach Sheni, Reish Lakish asked. We tried Shluach Machaneh, Abaye asked. Abaye now goes back to Rabbi Yochanan and is going to prove that ish, then when it says ish goes to Pesach Sheni and not the tzibur. How does he prove it? The word nefesh is extra. What's it extra? To tell me that every person that's tamei, only tamei mace goes to Pesach Sheni, that's not true. Because ish tells me any type of tumah. Good? So therefore, the nefesh must be coming to teach me something about Pesach Rishon. What's it coming? Can it come to tell me that a person who's tamei mace, one person can go to Pesach? Can't be. It must be to teach me what? That when do we say that tzibur brings the tumah? Which tumah? Tumah's nefesh, but not the other tumah. That's geschmack, and now we're good. We're all good, guys, right? Geschmack alimud. Only Gemara. Okay, very good. So we've established. Now, the next piece of Gemara has nothing to do with the previous piece of Gemara, but a little bit. So listen up. There's a mitzvah to send people out of the machna for different tumas, but not all tumas are created the same. If I would tell you, for some reason, I know a very good reason. When we think of tumah, we think the most severe tumah is tamei mace, right? Avi avos tumah, zrika, hazos, shleisha, v'shiva, paraduma. Yeah, but it's very funny. Le'inyan chumiz tumah, not so. The person who's tamei tumas mace, not the mace itself. The person who's tamei tumas mace. Watch. In the midbar, there were three machnos. There was machna Shechina, machna Levia, and machna Yisrael. The Shechina was in the in Mishkan itself, around the Mishkan was the Machna Levia, and around them, outside them, was Machna Yisrael. Our contemporary, in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, was in the Azara itself, was Machna Shechina. The Azara means from Shaim Niknor in. In other words, where you find the Mizbeach, that's the Azara. That is considered Machna Shechina. The Har HaBayis is Machna Levia, and anything beyond that is Machna Yisrael. A mace, a Tamei mace, is permitted into Machna Levia. He's just excluded from Machna Shechina. A mace, Tamei mace. Not only Tamei mace, even a real mace. You learn it out. We'll see it tonight. Atzmus Yosef. Who had Atzmus Yosef with him? Moshe. Moshe was a Levi. So you see that in Machna Levia, you even had to have not only Tamei mace, even a mace. Yeah. Zov, a Zov, a Balkari, is outside two Machnas. He's outside Machna Shechina and outside Machna Levia. He's in Machna Yisrael. A Mitzayra is Chutz Mishalish Machnas. Is that all three? Okay, so now that's going to be the discussion for the rest of the Tumah. The Tumah. Again, whatever. Again, Bada Yeshev. But again, if the pasuk says Bada Yeshev, and we're going to say Yeshev Chutz L'Shalish Machnas. It's why that is? It can sign the Aveira of you don't want to speak to anybody, whatever it is. Says the Gemara Vayt. Amar Rav Chisda. Mitzayra shenichnas lefnim. Let's say the Mitzayra goes inside. The Mitzayra is nichnas lefnim, meaning he leaves Machna Yisrael and goes to Machna Levia. He goes inside. Shenichnas lefnim chitzasei pata. He pata. Taisus points out it's only one Machna. If he jumps two, he's finished. In other words, if he goes to Machna Yisrael, if he goes to Machna Levia, he gets Malchus. It's only in one Machna would we let him off the hook. Shenemar Boda Yeshev michutz lemachna ma'shavai. Boda Yeshev levadai. It means he sits out there alone. Yeshev michutz lemachna ma'shavai. What does it say? Yeshev michutz lemachna ma'shavai is hakasav nitgoy leasei. This is a lav hanitak leasei. This is a loaded share, guys. It's a loaded share. Lav hanitak leasei, guys. Good. What does that mean? There's certain averis you don't get malchus for. Example, lav shem b'maisa, lav sheba klolis, leisavashta. We said it's lav sheba klolis. Lav shem b'maisa, right? You don't get malchus for noiser. Lav shem b'maisa. Lav anita klase, right? The heishiv is exela shegozal. You don't get malchus for stealing. Why? You can return it. The chiddush over here is, guys, if you go out and you go back, right? You don't get malchus. The chiddush over here is you don't have to be over the aveira. You don't have to be over the aveira in order to fix it. In order to go ahead and return a gazela, you have to steal. The mitzvah say over here is to go ahead and go in the machna, right? And mitzvah say to leave the Jews and live. So that you could do that. You're not being over an aveira. In other words, the aveira is only if you go back and then go back. Look at you find the mitzvah by going and puts outside the machna. So it's still considered lavanita. Good. So therefore, since it's a lav that corrects a problem, you're good. Since it's a lav that corrects a problem, you would be good. You won't get malchus. Says the Gemara, Eisirei, mitzayra shenichnas lefnim mechitzasai, a mitzayra that goes in outside his mechitza, meaning he's going into machna levia, machna Yisrael, bi'arbayim. He gets malchus. He kashes right there. We're going to finish the brisa, guys. And then there's a kasha. He gets malchus abayim. You just Rav Chisda, you just told me he doesn't get malchus. Here you see he doesn't get malchus. Zavim v'zavai shnichzu lufnim mechisasam ba'arbayim. They also get. The Tamei Meis mutali kanish the Machna Levia. A Tamei Meis is permitted to go to the Machna Levia. Lo Tamei Meis levad. Not only Tamei Meis, Amru elafilu Meis atzmai. Even the Meis himself is permitted. Shnema, as we just spoke about, Vayikach Moshe es atzmas Yosef. Moshe took the bones of Yosef. Imai. What does Imai mean? Imai mechitzasai. It was mamish by Moshe's tent. It was mamish right there. So you have a stira. And Reb Chisda, how can Reb Chisda say he doesn't get malchus? You see him at Sarah does get malchus. And it's the Gemara Tanoim. It's machlokes Tanoim. Easiest way out. It's machlokes Tanoim. The Tanya Bada Yeshev Levadai. Now, guys, if I learn this Bada Yeshev Levadai for something else, I must hold it's not a lavanita. These are the three words that Reb Chisda said is lavanita, correct? So if I'm using it for something else, obviously I don't hold it's a lavanita. I must. So he's using these words. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Boda yeshiv levadai." Yeshiv means shlayitmei machem yeshmimai. He sits alone, right? He doesn't have it. No one else can be with the mitzayra. I might think even forget about the mitzvah, but about the other tumas, mace and zov, maybe they can hang around together. No, each one gets his own machna. You don't put them together. Rabbi Yehuda. Here's the key, guys. Rabbi Yehuda clearly said from the words "Boda Yeshiv Levad" that he sits alone. That's it. No other person can be with him. So obviously he doesn't know it's Lavanithak because those are the words that are just quoted. Now, if Shimon says "Ain't it sarich," you don't need the pasuk to teach me that. Hari Yoimer, it says "Ve'yishalchim min hamachne kol tzirua v'chol zav v'chol tamei lenefesh." Yoimer Tamei. Now we can go through the same thing we began to share with. Yoimer Tamei Meis. Tell me the least strict of them. But Yoimer Tamei Zav, and don't tell me Zav. And Yoimer, I'll say the following. Tamei Meis mishtalakim Zavim like kol shekain. If you're going to send the Meis out of the machne, certainly going to send a what a Zav. Lamanem a Zav litin lemachne shniya to give it a second camp. So you don't need the words. You said we can the pasuk itself when it says all three separately. I'm going to know it's separate machanos. It says v'yom zav al yom mitzayir. Rav Yomer zav mishlach mitzayir l'kol shekain lamanem mitzayir litim machan shlishis. Now, guys, here's what we want. Kishu oimer bada yeshev, and then when it says bada yeshev, hakosiv l'naktoi le'asei. Right, and then now it's giving you a lava nikdas asay. Stop right there. Finish. Tanoi. You got your machlokes tanoim. Rabbi Yehuda, who used the word badad yeshev levadai, that give him what that he has to sit alone and no mace can sit with, and no other tumah can sit with him. Obviously, he's not using it for lavanita. And Rav Shimon is using for lavanita. And Rav Chisda says he doesn't mamalkis hold like Rav Shimon. Guys, good. I hold Rav Shimon. Very good. Now we established that Zav is more chomer than mace, and Mitzayr is more chomer than Zav. The Gemara that wants to go through why is one more chomer than the other, right? Says the Gemara. We can share with it. We can over here. Says the Gemara. My chomer de Zav mitame mace. Shekain tuma yaitza alavi gufa. Again, it makes sense to say if the tuma is internal, it comes from within. It's more chomer than what than mace was external. The haraya, guys, tame mace is not mechusik kippurim. The only one that's mechusik kippurim review, I go through them. They're all Zav, Zava, Yoledes, Mitzayra, all the ones that have to bring a kapara. That's not enough to go to the mikvah. You have to bring a carbon. They all have one thing in common. What is that? All the tumah is internal. It comes from inside. Very good. So that's what I'd say. That's the chumer that Zav has over mace. Adarabba, Tamei mace chama, Shekain, Toyin hazash lichus v'shvius. Which right where we say, right? The purification process of the mace doesn't take place erev shemesh. You need to go ahead. You need to get spritz with paraduma mixed together. Day 3 and day 7. Omakra says the pasuk tamei v'chol tamei. It says tamei. It could have said tamei. Guys, what does the pasuk say? It says kol tamei. It says the pasuk says it could have. It says I don't have the pasukim here. 1 second. It says v'yishalch min hamachne kol tzurua v'chol zav. Correct me if I'm wrong. V'chol tamei, right? That's correct. Good. V'chol tamei nefesh. Good. So now, when it says kol, it didn't have to say the word kol. What does kol come to do? L'rabbois tamei sheretz. It comes to include tamei sheretz, meaning, guys, a sheretz is going to be in the same place as the mace, and zav is certainly more chomer than sheretz. Look at Rashi. The Rabbi's tamei sheretz, the shiluach, that even tamei sheretz, despite the fact that it's not mentioned in the pasuk, we only mentioned 3, mace, zav, and tzruah. Says Rashi, also the halacha would apply if you touch an avela, which is not batuma. The chol tamei maga, any tumas maga. The kivin dechsiv ribuye, since it says kol as an inclusion, the tamei maga lo yitzrich lemichtav zav. You don't have to write zav anymore. The chomer mitamei sheretz, shrei tuma yoytza alav migufay. Good. So therefore, in other words, I could have the ribuy of what? Of any tumas maga. You touched what? What is sheretz, guys? What does tamei mace and tamei sheretz have in common? You receive tumah from external source. So once you said kol tamei nefesh was to include what? Any tumas maga. So therefore, good you have a kasha for mace because he has 3 and 7 spitz. You don't have a kasha for sheretz. There's no way a sheretz is a chomer as a zav with tamei has to be gufay. So you see that zav is more chomer than any tumas maga, including tamei mace. So therefore, you didn't have to say tamei mace, and I would have learned it from zav. Okay, now let's continue on with the chumras. Says the Gemara, "V'zav chama mitamei sheretz, umay chumra kitamara." That what? It's tuma yaitz migufay. Says the Gemara, Adrabah, sheretz chama shekei mitame ba'onis. Yes, if a sheretz falls in you ba'onis, your tummy. If what? 1 day only, but your tummy ba'onis. Again, any chumra, any percha koldo, you give me any percha, right? The sub is also. It sees 1 re'iyah, it's 1 day. 1 day, but 1 day. Okay. So now, so what's the story, guys? You have over here an oinus. Now there's a halacha that a zav, if a zav eats something, he jumps, he's sick, and he sees something, he doesn't become a zav. It has to be that there's no other exterior reason. But if you remember correctly, now we don't need that. If you remember correctly, that's only the second re'iyah. The first re'iyah, afilu shalei ba'onis, because it's no worse than shech vazera, and shech vazera has nothing to do with oinus. So says the Gemara, very geshmak. So you want to say that sheretz has a chumrah, it's mitama ba'onis, but a zov is not on the base. Amri ki agavna zov nami temuya mitama ba'onis. In this case, meaning the first re'iyah, like the sheretz touches, also mitama ba'onis. So Mila, there's no chumrah that sheretz has over zov. Memela, I know tumas maga of sheretz, tumas maga of mace, and therefore you don't have to say it. And therefore, why do you say it? Oh, now, to give it a separate mafna. Kid Rav Huna, Dam Rav Huna, Riyah Rishayna Shal Zav. The first Riyah of Zav, Mitama ba'onis. Now, what's the most chumrah thing we've been hacking? Mitzayra, right? Furthermore, my chumrah the Mitzayra mizav. What's the chumrah of Mitzayra of a Zav? Shekain Toyin Prio Prima. The Mitzayra guys he can't let his beard grow, his mustache grow, and he rips his clothing. Prio Prima. He also betashim shamita, and he can't live with his wife. But his Zav could. Says my other rabbi, Zav Chama Shekain Mitama Mishkavu Moshev. Right? A Zav, guys, if he sits down on a bed. Now in the pecking order of Tumah, there's usually a hierarchy. If you're an Avad Tumah and you touch something, it becomes a Rishon. If you're a Zav and you lie down on the bed is a Avad Tumah. And it can be Mitama Odom to Mitama Kilim. Not only be Mitama the person, be Mitama the Begodim on the person. So that's a chumrah that what Zav that Mitzayra doesn't have, because Mitzayra would not be Mitama the Begodim. Would not be Mitama the Begodim. And an additional chumrah of Zav is Mitama Klicheres Behesed. You know, usually Klicheres to Mitama, you have to go in the avir of the Kli, in the airspace of the Kli. If a Zav moves it from the outside, it's Mitama Hesed, Tumas Hesed. So the Chayra, we have chumras that Zav has over Mitzayra. Says the Gemara, Omar Kros Zav, V'chol Zav. Now, what is V'chol Zav? The Rabbi is Balkeri, Mitzayra Chama Balkeri. So, no, it's just like we played the game by Mace and Sheretz. We're doing the same thing by Mitzayra and Zav and Balkeri. Says the Gemara, my chumra, what's the chumra? Kidamaran, like it needs prio prima. Adarama Balkeri Chomer Shekain Mitama B'Mashu. You don't need a shear for Keri, even a Mashal in Mitama. After the Gemara, no, it won't be Mitama B'Mashu because Sabla Reb Nasan. The spice goes according to Reb Nasan. The Tanya Reb Nasan Maimer Mishum Reb Shmuel Zav Tzorich Kichasimus Pia Oma. In order to be a Zav, the shear is a mount to cover the hole of the aver, the hole where your urine comes out from, that hole. And V'lei Hoydelu Chachamim V'Ishkes Le Balkeri L'Zav. Right, and we make a hekesh between what Balkeri v'Zav. So therefore, since you have according to Reb Nasan, a Balkeri has a share of what of Chasimis Piyama. So you don't have a chumrah of Balkeri over Zav. So very good. So right now we know the chumrah of what of Zav of mace is because of sheretz. The chumrah of Mitzayra of Zav is because Priyo Prima. And because the Mitzayra is Muhammad and what than a Balkeri. Good. Now, so we dash in the Chol Tamei Mace. We dash in by the Chol by Zav. What about the Chol Tzurua? Look at the guys. What does the pasuk say? It says, "Ve'yishalchu min hamachne Chol Tzurua v'Chol Zav v'Chol Tamei Mace." The Chol Tamei was for Sheretz. The Chol Zav was for Balkeri. What do we do with the third limud? What do we do with the Chol Tzurua? That's what they want. No, let's finish the job. You dash in the pasuk. Let's finish the job. And for the Gemara, I'll tell you what. The Chol Tzurua Lamali, I did the Ksiv Kol Zav, Ksiv Nami Kol Tzurua. Perish. In other words, Einachinami. Period. Einachinami. There is no reason to go ahead. There's not. It's for symmetry. The Torah wrote it. So no limud. Okay. Getting back to what we began with, right? We had the machlokes tanoim between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda says the Bada Yeshiv is to teach me what that you get a machna for himself, correct? Rabbi Shimon Tainid, I don't need a pasuk for that. I don't need a pasuk for that because it said Zav Tzarua. The fact that it mentioned it tells me it's a separate machna for each one. And therefore, Bada Yeshiv is there to be a lavanik to say. L'chayr Rabbi Shimon Kazak Zay good to Rabbi Yehuda, right? He Tainid is very good. What does Rabbi Yehuda do with Rabbi Shimon's Taina? Says the Gemara. For Rabbi Yehuda, l'chayr Shapikam Rabbi Shimon. L'chayr is saying very good. Why did the Torah have to speak out Zav Tzarua Tamei Meis? It must be to give me a separate machna for each one, and not from the Tamas Machaneim like you learned. And to Gemara, Ahumi Boyle, Rabbi Yehuda needs it for the following: L'chid Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Yochel Dachku Zavim Mitzrayim, V'nichlasu Lazara BePesach, Haba Betuma, Yochel Yechayavim. Now, Zavim Mitzrayim, and they're not allowed up on they're outside two machnas, guys. They're outside. They're a machna Yisrael. They're outside machna Levia. And they're pushing in to get in there for Machna Shechina. Now it's more Petuma, right? It's more Petuma. So really, Tumas Hutra B'Tziba vis-a-vis the Tamei Meis. Only Tamei Meis, right? So you would think vis-a-vis the Meis, it's Mutter. What about other Tameim who can't bring? I might think if they push in, maybe Chayav Kares. The halacha is if you go into the Azara and you tell me you Chayav Kares. So I might think of Zav and Mitzayra who pushed their way in on Pesach, Yochel Chayav and Karis, Tamid Leimar, V'yishalchu min amachne kol tzrua v'chol zav v'chol tamei lenefesh. B'shoshet tamei mesim mishtalachim. When a tamei mesim is not allowed in the Azara, Zav and Mitzayim mishtalachim. Ein tamei mesim mishtalachim, ein Zav and Mitzayim mishtalachim. In other words, a chiddush nifla, right? Here's what Rabbi Yehuda does with the pasuk. Guys, look at me. Rabbi Shimon learned the pasuk that to teach me three separate machnas, correct? Rabbi Yehuda learned it from V'yitamgas Machaneihem. And therefore, what does Rabbi Yehuda do with Rabbi Shimon's limud? Does something very interesting. It teaches me a very, very interesting halacha. Despite the fact that Zav and Mitzayra are not mutter, they don't have any head to B'tzibur. The whole head to Tumah Hutra B'tzibur on Pesach is Tamei Meis. That's it, only Tamei Meis. So you would think that if they go in, the Chayav Kares. Kamashmal in the pasuk, the halacha of sending them out of the Azara is only when it's universal. So when the mace is not allowed in, the Zav Mitzayra is not allowed in. When the mace is allowed in, then they're not allowed in, but if they go in, they're not mechuyev kares. So that's what it teaches me. Kol Zav, Kol Tzruah, Kol Tzruah, Kol Tamei Lenefesh, Ismam, Kol Tamei, when they're all three out, including mace, then the Mishtalachim is a mitzvah to send them out of the machna. When one is allowed in, and in this case the mace is allowed in, right? And the other two would not get. That's what he learns. What? What are you talking about? We're talking about the we said it's only the people who carry mace are allowed.
No, I understand, but let's say the conference is such a tzibur, right? Let's say. Right?
That means only for Tamei Meis.
Right. So the whole party is Tamei Meis, right? So who's B'Zar Kedam?
What?
Who's Zar Kedam?
Again, the Kahanim.
The Kahanim, there's some one kohen that's not.
And even if it's Hutra B'Tziba, even the Kahanim could do it.
And they're allowed to go into front of the bed?
Everything. That was the big kasha. Right?
Right.
But Kahanim are all the Kahanim. You need all the Kahanim. In other words, there's two possibilities. I began this year. There's two possibilities. Either Roy Vidit Tzibur for the Kal Yisrael, or all of the Kahanim are Tamid. Then you put Tzibur the Kahanim. That's obvious. Then you have a double. You have both going for you. If they're both going for you. That's the famous question, guys. By the most famous question in all of Tanakh, is this question: why did it light for 8 days? Right? Why'd they have to do it? Tumas Hutra B'Tziba. They could have used all the oil they wanted, right? That's the kash. Based upon this, they want the ifs, the new mizbeach, they want the menorah, they want to start it. This 152.
So you could go on forever.
Yeah, right. Okay.
We didn't have nobody says the cash then.
Amar. We do it all the kind of time. If there's one kind, if you were the only game in town, you'd be working like a dog. And I know you're going to say you're going to hide. Not when you're going to say they're going to say some really strong guy is going to go ahead, pick you up and stick you up there and say Mendi Akayin. Yes, Mechabed Mendi Akayin with Yom Kippur Avodah. All right, now you have a lot of kind. Baruch Hashem. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. Omamar. I don't know what does Omamar mean.
Learned to the price previously.
My guy. Omamar.
They always thought I had a photograph.
Omamar. Zav v'chol zav. We said Lashon zav, guys, right? V'chol zav. L'rabbeis balkeri. This comes to include a balkeri that what? The balkeri is sent out of the machna, guys. Good? Balkeri is sent out of the machna. Mechsayil Rabbi Yochanan. Mechilois loinis kadashu. Ubalkeri mishtadei chutz l'shtei machnas. Rashi learns that these are not interrelated, but pashtus that they are, guys. The underneath the underneath the Beis Hamikdash there were these catacombs, and there were places to go out. The Kohanim slept underneath there. What happens if a Kohen saw a Kohen was a balkeri? What did he do? He went to sleep and he was a balkeri. So the loinus kadashu with the kedusha of Nazara, so they're able to walk out. So that's one din. And then he says a second din, ubalkeri mishalei chutz l'shtei machnos. And the balkeri, in addition, is sent out of shtei machnos. That would be the right, Rabbi Yochanan. Meisivei, balkeri kemaga sheretz. You want to say that the balkeri is sent out of two machnos? Wait 1 second. O balkeri is kemaga sheretz. My lav lemachnoisam. Now maga sheretz, guys, would be no difference than mace. Just like a mace is only outside machna shechina, so too the balkeri should only be outside machna shechina, not outside machna levia. Loi letumason. Only regarding their tumah. Only regarding their tumah that Mendi, right? That a balkeri is not tummy for 7 days. He's tummy only for 1 day, like a person who touches a sheretz. Like a person who touches a sheretz. Says the Gemara, the tumasan. Hi, Fred Gemara, the tumasam. Hi, tumas erev ksiv bei. Hi, tumas erev ksiv bei. You don't need a limud. Each one simply says it's for what? It's tumas erev. Says the Gemara, no. That the balkeri stays inside, the same as the sheretz, only has to go outside machna shechina. Loi lo'olam tumasam. The balkeri kemaga sheretz. Ma maga sheretz mitama ba'onis. Af balkeri mitama ba'onis. Thank you all for listening.